Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. Republican Senators Bob Corker and Jeff Flake accused President Trump of debasing the nation on Tuesday and encouraged their colleagues to be more forceful in the Trump era. But it doesn't seem like other lawmakers plan on joining the fray. Here's Nancy Cordes.
Members of Congress ought to speak out.
Arizona Republican Jeff Flake's call to arms was met with mutiny today as GOP colleagues refused to open fire on Mr. Trump.
I'm still on very good terms with the president.
He's very focused on getting results.
Our job is to put our head down and start legislating.
They're holding back partly because the Trump White House is key to their agenda on issues like tax reform.
We now have a president who will sign it.
The yeas are 50. The nays are 50.
Just last night, Vice President Pence cast a tie-breaking vote, enabling Republicans to block an Obama-era rule that would have allowed consumers to band together to sue banks for wrongdoing.
The Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the joint resolution is passed.
We have great unity.
The president insisted today that party friction has been overblown. He repeatedly mentioned the standing ovations he got at yesterday's lunch with Senate Republicans.
I think the press makes me more uncivil than I am. You know, people don't understand. I went to an Ivy League college. I was a nice student. I did very well. I'm a very intelligent person.
As for Flake,
his poll numbers are terrible. He's done terribly for the great people of Arizona, a state that likes Donald Trump very much.
Almighty God.
But the Senate chaplain, Barry Black, hailed Flake's courage and asked for some divine intervention.
Lord, provide us with more patriots who will stand for right regardless of the consequences.
Flake's decision to retire was hailed as a victory by presidential allies like Steve Bannon. But Senate Republicans argue that's short-sighted. They fear that Flake's seat could now get scooped up by a Democrat.
Well, Nancy, Senator Flake voted with the president most of the time. Are other lawmakers now concerned that might not be enough to stay in Mr. Trump's favor?
Absolutely. They have seen this president lash out time and time again against Republicans who have dared to criticize him, even Republicans who are in his good graces most of the time and vote with him most of the time. And so it's a big concern for Republicans, unlike Flake, who are seeking re-election. They know that his base is their base. So they're worried about angering those voters. And frankly, they saw what happened to Senator Flake when he started to speak out months ago. First of all, his poll numbers tanked in Arizona. That very loyal part of the president's Republican base essentially abandoned him, and he was never going to win over Democrats who were going to support a Democratic candidate. And he got the full firepower of Trump-backed allies like Bannon, who immediately got behind a challenger to his right and really created an untenable situation for Flake. So this is something that Senate Republicans, House Republicans think about long and hard when they're considering even mildly criticizing this president. And frankly, Elaine, we had one retiring House Republican, Charlie Dent, tell us today that he sees this as a very troubling trend in his own party, and that it's part of the reason that he's retiring. He says that there used to be a litmus test for how conservative you were, how pure you were. He said now the litmus test is not about ideology, not about policy, but about how loyal you are to one person, the President of the United States. And he says that's wrong.
Well, Nancy, are there any signs that tensions between President Trump and people within his own party will simmer down anytime soon, at least publicly?
You know, I think it really depends on the president's actions, and it depends on Republicans' tolerance level for pain. Right now, their tolerance level is pretty high. They really see him as providing a once-in-a-lifetime chance to enact elements of their agenda, and they really don't want to squander that. So they're willing to bite their tongues from time to time in order to push that agenda forward. They know that they need a Republican, a powerful Republican in the White House. They don't want to do anything to weaken him. At the same time, Elaine, every time you have a Republican like Jeff Flake or John McCain or former President Bush speaking out in this manner and really going after the president, calling him a habitual liar, saying that he poses a danger to democracy, it really does pave the way for other Republicans. It makes it a little bit easier for them to take that step as well. And that has to be something that worries the White House.
Well, the president said that he thinks Corker and Flake will vote for the tax plan. Can we gauge at this point who is and who is not on board?
You really can't, because the plan itself is still being written and probably won't be completed for perhaps another month or so. In fact, House Republicans are fighting right now over the budget, which has to be passed as a prerequisite for tax reform, because House Republicans from states like New York and California got wind of one of the elements of the tax plan, which would be to eliminate the deduction for state and local taxes. And they say that's something that would hurt residents of their states. They don't even want to vote for the budget, let alone the tax plan, until they get some assurances that that provision is not going to be in the final tax reform bill. And so it is really way too early to say whether Corker or anyone else will favor this plan, because we simply don't know enough of the details.
A lot of details to be worked out. Nancy Cortez, we're both thinking purple thoughts today, by the way. Nancy, thanks so much.
You're welcome.